I don't know, Meet, of all the fights on the card, this might be the one that I'm looking forward to the most. Cannot wait to see how Dan 50K Ige looks against Damon Jackson, aka Action Jackson, which is a new nickname, right? We've always known Damon Jackson as the Leech, but it seems he's finally relinquished that title to Li Jinliang and has given the proper Leech nomenclature to the Chinese fighter nonetheless. But in this one, I can't wait to see how it unfolds because Dan 50K Ige not too long ago was getting very close to the top of the division, right? I mean, he had those nice wins over Mirsad Bektik, took out Edson Barboza, and then he ran into Calvin Cater, and that was in a main event. And from that point on, it's just been kind of a struggle for Dan Ige. He rebounded nicely, picked up that KO, easy work finish over Gavin Tucker, but he's lost three straight, right? Lost to Korean Zombie, unanimous decision. Lost to Josh Emmett, unanimous decision. And then most recently in June of last year, got absolutely smoked by Mobstar Evloev, lost to unanimous decision. So it's been three straight L's for Dan 50K Ige and 4 of 5. So I'm curious to see if he can rebound against a guy who, in Damon Jackson, his career is kind of going the opposite direction, right? I mean, he's 5-1 in the UFC in his most recent stint. And I say most recent because we got to remember this is a guy who debuted back in 2014, had just an abysmal UFC tenure. They cut him immediately, but he went over to LFA, strung together a bunch of different wins, Brandon Moreno style, and ever since he's returned, he's looked like an absolutely renewed fighter. I mean, most recently, that beautiful win over Pat Sabatini. He took out Slavatini in the first round, and that was one where the story going into it was how Damon Jackson had lost his brother, and the fact that he was able to just get that emotional, powerful finish over Slavatini was really quite impressive. And before that, he picked up easy work wins over Daniel Argueta, Kamela Kirk, and Charles Boston Strong Rosa. And the only loss before that was to Ilya Topuria. So it's really been cool to see this Damon Jackson 2.0 Action Jackson, former Leech, and I'm curious to see if he can keep this streak going against a guy like Dan Ige, who, again, at one point was getting pretty close to the top. So, what are your thoughts on this one? Has the Damon Jackson train, is this where it meets its end and Dan Ige is finally able to get an elusive victory? What, something that's eluded him for the last couple of weeks? Or does Damon Jackson just keep this going and Dan Ige continues trending down? Who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, this is an absolute banger of a fight. Very excited for this one. But I think Action Jackson is going to get it done. I like the size. I like his momentum. And honestly, since he smoked Pat Slabby Sleepy, I'm on the train. I wasn't a believer and now I am. And this is probably gonna be the biggest levels test yet, other than the fact Ilya Taporia, which he got slept by. But Dan Ige is no slouch, so this should be a war. Or Jackson Action is going to get it done easy and often with a nice little KO. So I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna lean towards Jackson Action. And he's either going to get a decision or a finish, in my opinion. I don't see him subbing Dan Ige, but I just really like the size, so I could see a KO or a very nice, decision, just being on the outside with that lanky arms and kicks and just putting in work. He's really on a nice uptick trend, and sad to say, but Dan Ige is on the way out. But whenever we count him out, it does seem like that he does shine and maybe gets a YOLO meat bomb finish. So who knows with Dan Ige? But yeah, I gotta take Jackson Action on this one.
Yeah, I feel that, and it seems like both of these guys are the type of fighter where as soon as you start to count them out, that's when they do something spectacular, right? And Damon Jackson is a guy who is seemingly always an underdog going into fights, and in this one, I was interested to see that it's basically a pick 'em. Like Dan Ige is a slight favorite on some books, but essentially it's -110 on both sides. And if we look at Tapology, they're feeling it the same way, right? 50% even split down the middle. You'll see that maybe once every 6 months, and we're breaking down fights every weekend. Rarely do you see that 50-50 split, but if you look at it, there's a decent amount of brown for that Dan Ige finish. Majority for Action Jackson is the beige decision. Do you think that Action Jackson could pick up a finish in this one? I mean, we know Ige is a guy with just an absolute granite chin. We can see him absorb 200 strikes in a contest and never even looks phased. I don't even know if I've ever seen Danny get dropped. So you think Action Jackson can finish him?
Yeah, I mean the way Jackson's been finishing these guys, I think he can finish anyone, unless his name is El Matador. So I could totally see Dan Ige getting slept by a front kick to the tooth, or a meat bomb. if he gets a sub, I will be absolutely so impressed and mind blown, and I'll be riding the Jackson hype train for a while up until he gets that rematch versus El Matador, and that one will be a sight to see because I feel like that one wasn't due like I feel like that was kind of I don't know. The Jackson we've been seeing lately was not the Jackson that fought Ilia Topuria, so this will be very interesting to see if how long this win streak can keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And a win over against Dan Ige would be very impressive because he's taken out a lot of guys who are tough UFC fighters for sure. But as far as anyone in the top 10, like Ige, I think is a totally different level for the Leech and for the former Leech in this one for sure. And you mentioned the submissions. I mean, Action Jackson has 15 subs to his name. So perhaps if he gets a finish, I think that would be the most likely over Dan Ige. I really don't see Dan Ige getting KO'd or TKO'd by Jackson, but you never know, right? It's Action Jackson. Weird things happen for sure. But in this one meet, I'm going to roll Danny. I think that I don't know. I like where his mindset is at. I was watching some interviews, and it seems as though like this is the opponent he's been waiting for to just kind of turn that corner and get his career back kick started again. Because I mean, those guys he lost to, Yves Loev, Josh Emmett, Korean Zombie, Calvin Kattar, like these are all super tough top 10, maybe even top 5 guys. So I think that while the former Leech is super tough and maybe could take out Dan Ige, I think that this is the right opponent for 50K, and I like him to win a decision in this one. I think that he's going to be I think he's going to have the striking advantage, to be honest with you, and if he's able to keep this thing standing, I like him to be able to just land more strikes, more accumulation of strikes, and I think that Action Jackson might be a little lost out there when pitted up against Dan Ige. But if Jackson gets this thing to the mat, then I don't know. His top pressure is insane. His submissions are insane. I might worry for Dan Ige if it hits the mat, and we know Dan Ige is no slouch down there, but I don't know. Action Jackson is just kind of zenning on a new level these days. I gotta go Dan Ige by decision, though. Any last thoughts?
No, this is a great fight. Throw in the comments who you got. You taking Action Jackson or 50K Dan Ige. Throw in the comments who you got. You taking Barcelos or Umar.